Hey everybody, so we have been getting quite a few questions about what we use for editing our photos, how we edit them, and so I thought I would just do a quick little tutorial kind of showing you what we do. Thomas and I, when we founded Identical Draw, one of our staples that we were going to live by was high quality content, and so basically rule number one is you want to buy gear that can shoot good stuff. Filming this right now is our big hitter. It's the Canon 5D Mark IV. It has amazing pixels and just shoots super crisp images. So that's the first thing. I mean, we have a great ability to do this kind of photography just because we have good gear. So if you want to dive into the photography world, I would just recommend just making a purchase right off the bat and getting some high quality stuff that's gonna help you do the work you want to do. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through. I have 6 different images here. I would say first off, one of the questions we get a lot is how do you get a company's attention? And basically, you just have to give them stuff that they want to use more than other people. And so you gotta just really know your company, really follow them on social media, see what kind of posts they're doing, because every company has their own little thing that makes them unique, and make your photos like that. So if you know you have a company that their product needs to be in every shot, then find a subtle way to incorporate that here and there. If it's a company that only posts product stuff, then don't be sending them landscapes or wildlife shots kind of thing. If you know it's a company that mixes that stuff into their website and stuff, then go ahead, send them the whole thing. But just rule number one, know your company that you're doing photos for. Maybe it's just yourself. That's awesome too, but I'll kind of show you a few different things here we got going on. All right, so first things first, we use the Adobe Creative Cloud stuff. So I edit all my photos on Lightroom, which is super easy. Learning this stuff really isn't that hard. Lightroom's pretty simple. Simply YouTube it, Google it, and you'll know more than you need to know. We're just all self-taught, just kind of messing around. And that's what editing photos is just messing around, seeing what you like. So, all right, let's just add photos here quick. I've got a few saved in my desktop ready to go. It's a mess. All right, 6 photos. I have a landscape shot, I've got some people shots, I got a shed shot, antlers, a little prescribed burn action. So I'll just start out with kind of my basic idea of what I do here. So throw some images up. Before I touch any of these knobs, I am going to this chart right here, just the point curve. And ideally, you've probably heard, if you dabble in this world, you want like an S curve, something like that. So that's what I usually try to do. But again, all I want to do is to make the image look basically normal. Like I want it to look natural, with a few things emphasized, especially if I'm shooting for like product and stuff. But in this, obviously you kind of want the shed pedicles. And this photo right here, you've got great foreground, the sheds being the midground, and you've got the background too, which is basically 3 things that you want to make up a good photo. These are basically centered, so you can crop it up to make sure those are perfectly centered. Those are little things. Just a nice cropped photo looks strong. This right here I like to mess with, just makes it look matte. You can see that goes, I mean, that's exaggerated, but I like to add a little matte sometimes. Just adds a unique look. So after doing all that stuff, I'll come up here and make sure the exposure is good. This one I want to add a little bit. Drop the highlights. It's usually a common theme with a lot of my stuff. Increase a few shadows. And then I love texture and clarity. I think it makes things pop. It can get over. Texture and clarity are probably the most overused things in outdoor photo content. I feel like people really like a super jacked up clarity shot. Sometimes they're kind of cool, but let's bring it back a little bit here. Something like that. So you gotta ask yourself, what are you kind of wanting to focus on in this image? And it's the gloves. This would be a shot I'd send over to First Light for their gloves. It brings a little grain. So I will hit the brush here and hit these pedicles, because it's what we are focused on kind of in this shot. I just want to make them pop a little bit more than they are. Just have them stick out. So after doing that, I'm going to add a little exposure and make them brighten up a little bit. Drop the highlights a tad, a little more texture on those, have them stick out. And go back to the regular image. Just dropped. So if I was going to send this over to First Light, that's basically a finalized image I would have. The only thing now, this shirt looks possibly a little orange. So I will take this saturation and just drop it down a bit. Something like so, make it look natural. But yeah, that's really not too far off. Again, with what I do, I stare at an image for a while. I'll even export it, throw it on my phone, see what it looks like on social media kind of, and be like, what sticks out, what needs a little bit more, and then I'll bring it back on here. This image, honestly, one thing you could do is add a slight temp. I don't want this shirt getting too orange, but I think about springtime, I think about like warmer weather, so I want it to feel warmy and good, so I'll mess with possibly this color mixer to get some different hues. And again, I just go back and forth on these things all day, just figuring out what fits, what looks natural. That'll drop that shirt saturation down a little bit. So I'd send that image over to First Light all day. All right, next one, we have the buck that Spencer Newhart killed on the Kansas City Club. And this is like a really like close textured shot. So right off the bat, I'm gonna go to this S-curve. I'm gonna drop those a little bit, add a little bit of that sunlight in the background, pop that quite a bit. Maybe just add a little bit of that. And then I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna hit the shadows, help those antlers stick out a little bit more, maybe bump exposure a tad. With this antler especially, I want to add some textures, just because antlers are textury. Really awesome there. As you add the clarity, you get this nice edge along there, which I dig a lot. This shot doesn't need any temperature really. It's already got that bright background. Some whites, see kind of what that adds. See what the blacks do. That I kind of like a little over here. But yeah, that's basically all I would do with that image. I'd send that over to any sponsor we work with. Over to the landscape shot. So this was shot in Colorado. Got a really dark, basically foreground, I would call that, maybe midground, and a light sky. So right off the bat, I'm like, all right, what I want to do here, I'll probably mess around with this first like I normally do, and just kind of see what needs to be done there. There's not a whole lot. It's a tough image because the sky's almost overexposed, and this is hard because it's so dark. So ideally, you just hit this with a linear gradient and throw it something like that. And so the only thing that will be edited is that highlighted portion. So right off the bat, I'm gonna drop highlights, add some contrast. Let's see. Great. So you can see that added some darkness to the sky, added a little more warmth. Let's hit that again here. Just do one for this bottom, just invert it to where it's only hitting those mountains. And this one I'm gonna add some exposure, add a little bit of warmth, texture. I'm not gonna mess with the highlights, add a little bit of shadow. See what that looks like. Yeah, lit that up quite a bit more. I'd still go back to this top one and possibly drop exposure a little bit, drop highlights, a little more contrast. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I like that a little bit more. It makes that sky pop a good bit. And then now I'll just mess with the whole image because it's a little more balanced. It's not so overexposed and underexposed. It's a more balanced image. So this was shot in September, so I want to feel some warmth. You can add that up a little bit, gets a little more orangey in the sky. The vibrance I don't hit a whole lot, but I'm all about it with this sunset. And just gonna tap a little bit of that. Go negative on the blacks, kind of makes that foreground stick out. But other than that, I wouldn't do a whole lot. It's pretty basic image, just a solid landscape. I like to make it natural. I can show you like a more exaggerated image of this, but basically this is what it would look like if I added a little more sharpness, a little more vibrance when I was actually looking at this scene. So that's basically what you want. All right, back to the plain image. I have some presets. The presets I use are Peter McKinnon. If you guys follow him, he's a great YouTuber. So I like his presets quite a bit. Just showing you a few of them. Some of them are quite a bit sometimes. I'm more of like I want it to be natural. So you can just kind of look through, see what you like. These are some darker ones. One of them that stuck out to me was this one. This one I've messed around with a little bit. It's a little on the saturated side for me, but you can see if I throw another linear gradient on there. Makes that sky, it's just more saturated. It just depends what you want in the image. If you want it to look like super legit or just look kind of cool. This one again, you need to bump the exposure a good bit. Bump the highlights, bump the shadows, drop the black. Add some texture. And that's a pretty sweet image there. This, it looks like it's overexposed here, but it was actually like a light fog cover. I think it's just from the evening. So again, this is a much more like vivid image, but it doesn't look stupid. I mean, it looks a little exaggerated for sure, but you get like some cool aspen pops in the mountains that you didn't have in the other image, and just a cool, basically cool sunset. The snow pops a little bit more in this one, so just another idea. Next image on that same elk hunt, he's my brother-in-law Tommy. Kind of just a cool focal point image. So right off the bat, working the S-curve. Looks great. Light matte, see what that looks like. Kind of like that underneath the bottom there. And then I'm gonna come up here, I'm gonna add, it's a little dark, I'm gonna add a little bit of this, but then drop the highlights in the back. Shadows, big time. Temperature, it's already pretty warm image, something that feels like September. In the aspens, add a little texture because I really want this glove. I want this glove to pop, that's what I want. Slight clarity and then hit this pretty good. You can see how exaggerated you can go with that. And honestly, with this being perfectly centered, you could hit that pretty hard in the edges. The only other thing I would do is add a little bit more exposure, and I would feel great sending that over to anybody. All right, kind of another focal point image here. First thing I'm gonna do with this turkey is make sure it's centered in that bottom frame. That's pretty good there. This is kind of a far out image, but I don't want to lose like the foreground that I've got going up in this corner in this bottom here. Like I would possibly crop it in a little tighter, make it a cool, maybe like a kind of like a landscapey shot. But I kind of like this up top. So what I'll do right off the bat is mess with this, add a little bit of that vibrance. I'm going to drop some highlights. I'm going to pick up some shadow that picks the bird up. I'm going to add a little texture, add a little clarity, and then I'm going to zoom in on the bird here. Strutter. And then hit the brush. And I'm going to light this dude up with the brush. Cover him all up. I'm gonna add some exposure to make him pop a little bit, a little more contrast and texture for sure. Boom. Just makes that pop a little bit more. You can even go, you can even hit that vibrance a little, just for that turkey head, that red and the blue to pop a little bit. Yeah, I like that. I'd send that to anybody. Nice balanced image, foreground, midground, and some back. Colorful bird that pops. Yeah, it looked great on any website. Finally, I have this image. Doing a prescribed burn. Just drop it on here. Darken that foreground. Add a little bit of that vibrance. The thing I'm going for with this image is just, it's cool that he's half covered up with some smoke. There's fire involved, so I want to make that smoke kind of stand out, but he is the subject matter. So this image needs to be hit a little bit to make him centered up. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of exposure. Add a little bit of warmth. This is March, late March, starting to warm up a little bit. Something like that. Texture it up. Clarity, that makes the smoke pop a little bit more. I'm gonna add a little bit of saturation because the only color I have in this image is basically the grass and the fire, and I don't mind those things popping just a tad. Yeah, I like that. And then I'm gonna again zoom in on our focal point here, and I'm going to, come on computer, I'm going to just hit him a little bit. Again, me and Tom have zero education on this. We watch a lot of YouTube tutorials and stuff like that. So if I'm doing something completely wrong, I don't really care, because as long as the image looks good and people want to post it, I'm all about it. So if I'm doing something wrong, just don't tell me. Boom. Add that brush feature. Thomas in this image pops a little bit more. Fire looking good. You can see that a little easier with the added saturation. You could even, if you wanted to really make this burst pop, you could add a little brush in here and just hit some of that. A little bit in here, and add a little saturation, a little texture, a little warmth. Let's see what that adds to that fire. Definitely. And again, I'd be all about sending that one out. So yeah, so that's basically the gist there. I'll show those up in the video here. You can get a good look at them, the originals and the edit. Basically, again, know the company that you're working with. If it's you, just edit them how you like. Make them look natural, but add a little something, add a little pop or focal point. But again, I keep it pretty simple. That's how we do it. And yeah, that's all I got for you.